Okay, good morning to everyone. We are here in South Africa. My name is Michael Zein. I'm responsible for the UI UX concepts at Audi AG, and I would like to give you a brief introduction of the new Audi A7 and the ideas of the interior and how to interact with our car. So, starting a little bit with the dashboard, where we have the Audi Virtual Cockpit, which is a complete digital cockpit with different functionalities and views like you are used to it in our current model lines. And what we try to realize here is that you have all the basic functionalities for driving in a safe operation and information of the car, as well as of the most important infotainment functionalities, like for example changing radio stations in a safe operation mode controlled by steering wheel. So on the left hand side of the steering wheel you can control the Audi Virtual Cockpit, and you get displayed the basic functionalities as well as it shows up in the Audi windscreen head-up display, where you have also navigation information or the information about driver assistance systems. So that's one general issue. On the other hand, if we're having a look on the center control, then we changed completely to a digital interaction system which is based on two displays. The upper one is basically for infotainment purpose. The lower one is basically to control, for example, the air condition. And what we did is, as it's in order to prevent and to reduce distraction, is we integrated a so-called haptical feedback on the system, so that you need to press with a dedicated slide force, and if the function is released you get a little bit forced feedback as well, so the time that you need to look at the display is reduced and you feel a more safe operation in this way. So additionally you get a classical acoustic click as a second confirmation of functions. So what we did with this is there is no problem of selecting something that you won't select, like you're typically used for if you're in a bad roadside condition, and that's one additional impact on a safe operation mode. If we go to the menu structure, it's quite easy to deal with because we have a home menu setting where you have typical gestures that you already know from your smartphones, and for example the most important functions are always on the first glance. So if you go to navigation, you get, once you entered for the very first time, a help assistant that gives you a short explanation of how the system works. Then you can say you're fine with it, you know how it works, and that's the typical view if you enter navigation. You get your map, which you used also from your apps. You go to search, and then you see the best thing of how to deal with the system, because you don't need to bring it on a keyboard. What we did is the lower screen is changing completely to a handwriting recognition, and now you can start writing in a quite easy way. For example, looking for Cape Town.
CAPET.
It gives you a feedback of what you've written, and then there are the results what corresponding to what you've put in with your hands. So for example here I wrote CAPET, and then you see here a list of possible results, and it gets you proposals. So in this case we have the possibility to choose something which is written with CAPET. Here it's based on your navigation. If you are in the South African market, you get proposals for South Africa. The same way works with a speech dialogue system, where we implemented a completely new technology which is online based as well as on board in the car. So it works in the parking lots, but it works even better if you're in an online condition, where especially, for example, if you're looking for a dedicated restaurant or the dedicated name of the restaurant, the online database gives you a better recognition and gives you a better feedback, and therefore a safe operation and a faster operation. So it's a quite natural way of talking to the car and corresponding, and you can as well control, for example, the air conditioning system by speech. So if you say I'm cold, it gives you a question of what degree do you want to
That
have.
doesn't work here in South Africa because of
It should
internet?
work. I can try it,
Okay.
but we have certain problems here. I'm cold.
What temperature would you like to set?
21 degree.
I'll lower the temperature to 21.0.
How do you determine whether that's the driver's side or the passenger or the rear?
We're just changing the driver's side
Okay.
in this way because
this
that's
way.
where you need to achieve a safe operation, and
Got
the passenger is always possible for him to interact directly with
I
the
noticed
system.
that it waits for you to respond. You don't have to hit the button again.
No, you don't have to do anything
Okay.
on that. So the system asks you, and that's one part of the dialogue. There is no dedicated command that you need to
Right,
learn
right.
because it interprets you are asking for something because you say I'm cold, and then the system interprets and say, oh, well, I'm going to ask for what he wants to have.
From a technical perspective, is that all done locally in the car, or is it communicating with the cloud to
We
get
have-
all those answers?
We have both. So we have a part of the speech dialogue system that's located in the car, for example, the air condition. And we are in parallel asking on the cloud and our back end about the same question. If there is another result on that, that's especially for location-based services, for navigation purposes, in order to make a better recognition and in order to make a better response to what the customer is requesting by speech dialogue.
What does not work while you're driving at a certain speed? The MMI system, the keyboard, is that operational while you're driving?
What we are doing is, according to the US market, we say that, for example, settings or certain functions in the car menu, which are typically just set once in a lifetime, that we're going to deactivate while driving.
Okay.
The key functionalities are active, and also we are thinking about the keyboard, for example, will be deactivated in this way. What we always have is a speech dialogue system, so you have fully control on the system while driving.
Great.
And another new thing is what we said is we integrated all the online functions in a natural way in our menu structure.
Okay.
That's a difference between the older ones. So for example, you go to radio, then you see you have the classical sources like AM or FM, but you have also online radio on that. And then you can say, hey, what are my top stations, for example? And then you see German radio stations in this case, and we are in South Africa, and say, hey, I want to hear Bayern 3. And then you get it directly to an online-based radio. So that's another general issue on the new interaction concept, where we say there where we can be online, we are using online information additionally to what you are looking for. So for example, if you're looking for a restaurant or if you're looking for a parking space, then we are filling up the information of your destination with online content. For example, if the parking space has space, or if it's open, or if it's closed, as well as, for example, the price of the gas stations or the ratings of the restaurants.
Okay. Would you mind turning the stereo down? Because we're recording, I won't be able to use it
Of
later.
course.
So how would you move the icons and things like that around, and to make it so that it's more personalized?
Personalized,
Yep.
yes. We have two general possibilities for personalization. So in general, all the personalization purposes are done by a long touch. It's
Okay.
also similar to smartphone behavior, what our customers are knowing from their typical mobile. So to give you an example, we have here a direct access bar where you can achieve just with one button hit the context, for example, radio, media, television, or navigation. And if you want to change that, because for example you don't hear often to media because you're hearing always radio, but you want to have your car menu on the first level, then you do the long touch, you get in a configuration mode, and then you can move it here, and then it's part of the personalization that you change the direct access bar to your personal behaviors and belongings. Another possibility is to say, I want to have, for example, settings on the very first entry, then you can change also the orientation of the general tiles. So that's one possibility. Another one is For instance, most of our customers are not changing anything on the air condition.
Right.
So why do I need to have a lower screen full of information with air condition? So you can reduce the air condition. That's where you say you can still change your temperature, but you get here access for personal shortcuts, say like that. For example, we heard the radio Bayern 3 in this case, and then you can say, hey, that's my favorite radio station. I always want it. So make the long touch, can store it as a shortcut, and then it appears here. So it doesn't matter if you're in the car menu or in the navigation, you have always direct access on Bayern 3. You can do the same, like for example, you say, hey, my background lighting, and you can store it as well. So it's completely personalizable, and for individualization purposes, it doesn't matter if it's a phone, if it's navigation, or if it's media.
How many of those shortcuts can you have in the lower display?
As far as I remember, up to 16 or 32, and then you can do a page flip behind it. But all the configuration issues are just possible on a standstill condition.
Can we back up a little bit and talk about the technical specs of the display? The resolution,
We can try
the
that.
refresh rate,
Well-
and also is the haptic response, is that localized? Meaning that when you touch it, it feels like you're touching that button?
No, it's it's the complete display
Okay.
that does a slight movement.
Okay, got
And
it.
it's based on a mechanical technology with a coil behind it. So if you press it, for example here in settings, where you get a visual response, and if you press, you have the force and you release it, then the display moves itself in the horizontal
Got
way,
it.
but psychological wise, you think you are moving the display in order of the direction of your thumbs.
Got it.
And what we made with a resolution of the displays is that we have achieved the retina resolution, which you used from your iPhone. So it's a little bit extreme precise and extreme contrasts in order to bring up the best graphical results.
So both the top and the bottom are
Yes.
both retina
Yes.
resolution. And then what about the virtual cockpit?
It's full HD
Full
on the
HD.
virtual cockpit, and the same pixels and the same resolutions.
Excellent. Is there anything else that you would like to share?
Well, what we it's the complete technology behind the new infotainment system is based on the MIB2 Plus, so-called, our new generation of the main unit, where we launched also the latest generation, in this case for the NVIDIA chipset, and we achieve a lot of performance and fast responses, as well as make a smooth movement of all the interactions, so that there is no a kind of user experience by fast interaction and by a homogeneous movement of the animations. In general, what we made is to say it, we defined quite well which kind of function do we integrate in the touch system, and which buttons do we want to maintain for our customers. So, for example, we set the rotary knob for volume, and for skip of radio stations, it's a basic function that we want to maintain. The same, like for example the light automatic. We changed the idea behind it because light is always an automatic. So in normal conditions you don't need to change anything, but you can if you want.
You've simplified
We simplified
what the
it,
user needs to do
exactly.
behind the wheel to make it safe.
To make it safe, but some functions we maintained as a button concept because we think that's a kind of lessons learned for generations, and we want to maintain this. What we did also is we integrated in the center console 3 buttons depending on the functionality of the car, which are controlling all the assistance systems. So for example, on the right button here you have all the assistance systems and profiles, where you can change between basic, maximum or individual. And we think it's the better way for our customers, that they do not need to think about all the functionalities of assistance, because they get it in kind of profiles and they get their possibilities of individualization for that. And on the other hand, we have the parking systems, where you can activate them here, where you have all the cameras and all the functionalities regarding safe operations by parking, as well as the 360-degree camera, for example.
Yeah, can we look at the 360 really quick?
For example, Now you get here the 360 angle of the car, and you can move as well the point of view on that.
And what are some of the other views that you're able to see? And since you're already able to swipe and
Yes.
zoom, is it necessary to have the other preset views?
It's where we said we need to think also how can we picking up the best access for our customers.
Mhm.
So changing, making a comparison, for example, the navigation map. If you say, hey, you're in the way of maps, so you're used from your smartphone,
Mhm.
that you have the typical gesture pinch to zoom. But we think it's a possibility, but it shouldn't be the only one, because in a safe operation and depending on the roadside conditions, you want to have a dedicated zoom factor. So we maintain the possibility of buttons for changing zoom factors, because we think it's more safe while you're driving.
Okay.
The same is that we make different possibilities for the camera systems with presets as well, with individualized views.
So I'm a terrible parker. So as soon as I pull into a parking spot, does the camera come on and show me the lane markings, whether I'm center or not? Does that
Yes.
come on automatically?
Yes.
Okay.
So if you're driving near, for example, for your parking lot,
Mhm.
then the parking cameras automatically appear,
Okay.
and are giving you the predefined view what you want to see. If it's a top view camera based, or if you just want to see the lines of how to park with your steering wheel, that appears automatically.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Thank you so much.